Hey everyone, today we're diving into something that feels like a really big deal in UI development. We're going to explore what happens when you stop just renting your components and actually start owning them. And trust me, this is a way of thinking that goes way beyond just another code library. Now, if you're a developer, this quote probably hits pretty close to home, right? It just perfectly captures that universal frustration, that feeling of wrestling with a UI library that refuses to cooperate, forcing you to layer on these fragile overrides just to get it to look right. This right here, this is the core problem that set the stage for a whole new solution. And that feeling of constantly fighting your tools, it often leads to this dreaded state, dependency hell. You know the place. It's where you spend more time managing package updates and fixing breaking changes than you do actually building cool new features. It's a huge time sink. So, how do we escape this cycle? Well, the answer lies in a completely new philosophy. We're going to really dig into what it means to stop renting your UI components and start truly owning them. This is the central, game-changing idea behind shadcn/UI. This slide lays out a really simple but powerful metaphor. On one side, you have the traditional model, basically renting your components from a package manager like NPM. But on the other side, you've got the ownership model, where you hold the keys to the castle because the source code is yours from day one. And this chart just illustrates so brilliantly what owning your code actually means in practice. Instead of those fragile CSS overrides, you get to refactor the code directly. Instead of being vulnerable to some library's breaking changes, you're in control of the versioning. And just look at the bundle size. You only ship the code you actually use, which typically leads to a 40 to 60% reduction in your JavaScript bundle. That is huge. Okay, so this philosophy sounds amazing, but how does it actually work? Let's demystify this so-called copy and paste model, because it's a lot more simple and a lot more powerful than you might think. All right, here is the absolute most crucial point to get. shadcn UI is not a component library in the traditional sense. You don't npm install it as a dependency. It's better to think of it as a code distribution system, a really smart tool that installs high-quality source code blueprints directly into your project. And the workflow is incredibly straightforward. First, you run a simple init command to set up your project. Then, whenever you need a component, you just ask the CLI to add it. And that's pretty much it. The source code for that component just appears in your project, ready for you to own, adapt, and maintain. Now, here's the secret sauce that makes this all work so beautifully: headless primitives. See, shadcn UI cleverly leverages amazing libraries like Radix UI to handle all the hard, complex parts of accessibility. You know, things like keyboard navigation and ARIA attributes. That leaves you with complete freedom over the styling and the visual layer. It is truly the best of both worlds. Behind the scenes, the magic of that CLI is powered by this file, registry.json. You can think of it like a recipe for each component. It tells the CLI exactly which dependencies to install, which other shadcn components might be needed, and precisely where to place the source files in your project. This is what allows for that really intelligent, dependency-aware installation. So we've seen how it all works. Now let's talk about the payoff. What are the real, tangible benefits you get when you adopt this model of full ownership over your UI code? The benefits are seriously significant. You get total control to change markup and behavior, not just styles. You can say goodbye to fragile overrides. You get a much, much smaller bundle size. From a security standpoint, it's completely transparent. You can audit every single line of code. And maybe most importantly for the future, it's AI-friendly right out of the box. Let's just focus on that last point for a second because it's so critical. This ownership model isn't just a reaction to the problems of the past, it's perfectly aligned with the future of AI-assisted development. So why do AI tools love this model so much? Well, because the source code is open and readable. It's not some black box dependency buried in your node_modules. An AI can literally read your button component, understand it, and then generate variations for you. It's the whole reason tools like Vercel's V0 are built on it. And get this, the latest CLI can even generate a skill file to teach an AI how your specific components work, turning it into a true coding partner. Of course, there's always a trade-off, right? This model gives you incredible power and control, but it also introduces a whole new set of responsibilities. So let's take an honest look at the other side of the coin. So let's just break down the core trade-off. On one hand, you get pretty much limitless potential through complete control. On the other hand, you take on full responsibility for maintenance, for updates, and for bug fixes. So, the pros are super clear. You own the code, it's way easier to customize for your design system, and it's accessible out of the box. But the cons are just as important to consider. The biggest one, you are now responsible for maintenance. If a bug gets fixed upstream, you have to pull that change in yourself. It really does require discipline and a solid understanding of front-end development. Okay, so with those trade-offs in mind, let's zoom out, because this isn't just about one popular tool. The philosophy behind shadcn/UI really represents a much larger movement that's happening in the front-end world. The core ideas here of open code, of ownership, of intelligent distribution, they're so powerful that they're fundamentally reshaping how developers think about building and sharing UI components well beyond just the original React ecosystem. And we have concrete evidence of this shift happening all around us. Just look at the community-led ports for Svelte, for Vue, for Angular, and even for React Native. Big enterprises are now building their own private registries to distribute their internal components. And as we just saw, the CLI itself is evolving to be agentic. It's being built to collaborate with AI. This is a true paradigm shift in action. Which leaves us with a final and pretty provocative question. Are we witnessing the end of an era? Is the future of how we build software not about importing opaque, packaged dependencies, but instead about sharing high-quality, transparent blueprints that we are all empowered to own, to understand, and to adapt? It's definitely something to think about.